Welcome to this episode of the Dropout Multi-Millionaire Podcast, where we talk about tactical business strategy, building high-performance sales teams, and growing your business. If you're ready to break free from the status quo and join the ranks of the mavericks, the rebels, and the renegades who refuse to conform and instead build multi-million-dollar businesses, then buckle up, because here we go. Welcome back to the Dropout Multi-Millionaire Podcast. Appreciate everybody being with us today. And today we are going to focus on sales, and in particular on some sales improvement results that I have had while working with one of my current clients. And I have with me my new friend here, Dave Judge. We call him DJ, but he just told me to call him Dave, so we're going to stick with Dave today. Good morning, Dave. How you doing?
Doing fantastic, Brian. Good to be here.
Great. I appreciate you talking to me today. So real quick, Dave, tell me a little bit about you, where you are, who you work for, etc. Give me a little background.
Well, as you said, Dave Judge, been in sales for 25 years, give or take. And I work for Lake Washington Windows and Doors here in the Puget Sound, and been here a little over 7 years on the outside sales side of things, and could not be happier, being here.
And you've had some success over there, as I actually know. Let me give you guys some background on today's episode, and I want to tell you how I actually ended up meeting Dave. So I was contacted, I think it was back last year in October, by a gentleman named Eric, who at the time was a director of sales for Lake Washington Windows and Doors. And I remember he called me. He had listened to one of my podcasts on sales, and he called me and he said, "Hey man, I got a window and door company over here, and we have a decent sales team, but we're closing at about 27%, and I need to be at 30%. Is that something you can help me with?" Now, from my perspective, that's a relatively typical sales scenario. And as usual, I said yes. And so we ended up doing a contract. And the first thing I do in any engagement is I request all of the data, right? I want to see everything from sales and marketing all combined. I just need to see all the data. I'm a data kind of guy. And so I got all the data. And after I started digging through it, I came up with a game plan. Now, my game plan was a bit more intense than I think originally Eric thought when he brought me in to help, which again is pretty typical. You see, sales is not just sales. Sales is one step in the funnel of revenue. Revenue starts with marketing budgets. Marketing budgets turn into marketing spend. Marketing spend is allocated across different channels, and each one of those channels have a different productivity, and they all need to be looked at. Marketing channels then generate leads. Those leads have to be of a sufficient quality and a sufficient price point that sales can convert them at a sufficient close ratio to make all the math work for a company to be profitable, right? So as an example, cheap leads that don't convert at a high enough conversion rate equals super busy salespeople, but you end up with less actual sales, burned out salespeople, and your product acquisition cost is too high, and the company loses money. The flip side of that is super expensive leads. Now they can convert at a very high level, but again, if the acquisition cost is too high, it drives up overall costs again, and the company loses money. Take your sales reps. Sales reps that have too many leads, even if they are quality leads at the right price, this is just the way human nature works. Your sales team will begin to cherry pick those leads, taking the easiest ones that they have to close and forgetting the rest. Conversion goes down, acquisition costs go up, the company loses money. In this scenario, the sales rep is very happy, but the company is failing. In the sales process itself, bad scripting or bad sales processes can also lower conversion and drive up acquisition costs. Inadequate sales management systems can leave sales managers and owners in the dark about real production and profit margins until it's too late. And then finally, there's implementation, customer service, and follow-up. These things happen after the sale, but they can also ruin a company's reputation, and that hurts future sales, which once again drives up acquisition costs, and sinks a company. So, like I said when I started, sales is sales, but sales is only one step in the funnel of profitable acquisition and overall company health. To be successful, you have to look at the total picture and not just part of it. Now, my job as a sales and sales management consultant is not just to help the company sell more. That can actually be counterproductive, believe it or not. My job is to help you sell more profitably, to help you scale in such a way that we optimize operations and build systems that work even after I'm gone. Okay, I've set the stage. Now let's talk about Lake Washington Windows and Doors. When I first came to this company, I recommended and started implementing some changes in the pre-sales department, in the sales approach, the sales scripting, the sales follow-up, the marketing approach, sales management approach, building dashboards. We even implemented a remarketing program. It was a lot more in depth than I think Eric was expecting. And again, very typical in these type of engagements. Now, when I got to this company, overall close ratios, as I told you before, were at about 27% in 2023. After the first 4 to 5 months of working with this team, and I think I saw the numbers last month, close ratios had improved to right around 33, 34%. That is a 25% increase overall. And I got to be honest, even I was a bit surprised at that. But it does go to show that Lake Washington Windows and Doors has a great sales team in place, and we just needed to tweak a couple of things. Generally, one of the first things I do when I start an engagement like this with a sales team is we rank everyone on the team. We start from the top and we work our way down the list. My objective is not just to generate an overall increase in productivity and close ratios to increase revenue and ROI, but it's to increase the amount of money we make on the marketing dollars we spend. Now, my assumption when I build that list is that we will make the greatest impact on the bottom level performers and the smallest impact on the top. In other words, if we're at 27 and the goal is 30, and I'll give you a sneak peek, Dave was already at 31, I don't expect to improve Dave a whole lot because he's already above the bar. But if I've got a sales rep that's at 20 and the goal is 30, I have the opportunity for a 50% increase. That's where I'm going to get the biggest bang for my buck in my case. Now, what's interesting is, in this case, we had huge improvements from the top all the way to the bottom. And the reason I have Dave on today is because he was already a top producer and has seen some amazing improvements. Okay, Dave, your close ratio when I got to Lake Washington Windows and Doors in November's, I actually said it a minute ago, but you remember what it was?
It's 27.
You were at 31% in October and November.
Yeah, 31, excuse me.
You were already above the 30% mark that I'd been given, and you were already a top producer. Now, I looked at the numbers last year that I got from the sales manager, Chris, and do you know what your close ratio was last month? It's 37%.
Yeah.
You went from 31 to 37 in the first 4 to 5 months. That's a 20% increase. That's amazing. But that's not the story. The story with Dave is this. Last year, what did you do in production overall for the year, Dave?
1.9.
1.9. And what did you do the year before that?
2.1. Yeah.
The year before that?
1.7.
1.7. All right. This is the best part about Dave's story. So you just finished out the first 4 months of the year. What did you finish in revenue for the first 4 months of 2024?
Right at 1 million.
$1 million in the first 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
Has anybody ever done that in the history of Lake Washington Windows and Doors?
I don't believe so, no.
I asked, and the answer I got was no, right? I also heard that you hit something that only 3 other people have ever hit in the history of Lake Washington Windows and Doors on a monthly sales basis. And what was that number?
300K in a month.
Just over 300,000, right? Yeah. So let me get this straight. You are tracking a 50% increase in production this year over last, and you did that with a 20% increase in close ratios. Is that accurate?
It's accurate.
See, it's easy to make more sales if you lose money doing it, right? I can just
Right.
undersell stuff for nothing and make more
Right.
sales. But you did it with an increased close ratio and an increased productivity. So that's what I think is the amazing story here. So you've been with Lake Washington Windows how long?
7 years. Yeah, a little over 7
7 years.
years.
Can I assume you're going to make more money this year than last year?
I, that's the goal. Yes.
Is it going to be a fair amount more money than last year if you had 3 million?
I, yeah, it's a significant uptick.
So you're a pretty happy guy with that, I assume, at the moment.
Yeah, very happy.
So let me ask you a couple of questions about the company. It's been about 4 to 5 months since I started working with you guys. I'm going to ask you two questions. What do you think is responsible for the overall increases we are seeing with the entire team? And then more specifically, what do you think is responsible for your individual increase in production? It's not like you went from 3 to 2 and you're back to 3. You went from 1.6 to 1.9 to 2 to 1.9 and boom, you're suddenly running in the 3 million range. What do you think has made the difference here?
Well, I would say overall, the lead generation and the quality of leads that are being put in front of us has, I'd say, really increased. And that's kind of what drives the whole thing is the metrics are there. You put me in front of the right amount of customers, the right quality, how they've been qualified, and good things are going to happen. Now, of course, we've got the team behind me that makes me look great every day, but that's what's driven, and it's just it's been pretty amazing.
So from your own personal production, your close ratios and your overall sales, what do you think is the number one thing that's helped you?
Just being a little more focused and maybe not relying on as much you know, I'd say kind of good old boy kind of anecdotal stuff. It's been, helping me to really kind of focus my approach.
Would you say that Lake Washington Windows and Doors is a high pressure sales environment?
As far as to the customer experience, no, we are definitely not. It's all about building value.
Has management or ownership ever pressured you to get out there? I mean, you need to do high pressure sales, you need to slam those people, get it done no matter what. Have you ever heard that from your management or ownership?
Never once, never in a million years would it ever be a high pressure spin.
Um, the sales process that I teach, um, how would you describe that sales process?
It probably the best word is focused and giving a structure and helping set expectations throughout, um, touching back and making sure that that customer is, what we do is, let's say, technical per se, but there's a lot of industry jargon, a lot of things to try to convey, and helping touch back and make sure that they're understanding the process, because they don't know what a sales appointment is supposed to look like, especially if we're the first ones in. So just setting those expectations, that's been really key. Even, for as long as I've been doing it, just helping to refine that.
Have you worked for anybody, any other of the competition in the market down there?
It, not directly, I kind of come from the factory side, so no, being on that side, but I know what other, how other companies approach things, from, if you go back to that high pressure kind of spin. Um, so it kind of helps us to frame how we do things. It's just much more consultative sale.
It's interesting. I have found that with top producers, of which you are one, most of the time, I'm not teaching them anything wildly different. I'm not teaching them things that they don't know. It's usually just fine tuning or small tweaks that help them elevate their game, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
love to go back to the example on one of the very first ride alongs I did when I started working with you guys with John. And I always laugh about this one. And he was doing his sales presentation and he started talking about dumb lumber, right? You remember that? And
Yeah.
I had no idea what dumb lumber was. And I could see the client's face and they had that kind of squinched up look like, what is dumb lumber? And finally I stopped him in the middle of his presentation. I said, "Hey John, just out of curiosity, what is dumb lumber?" And by the way, I don't even remember what it is. What is it, Dave?
It's actually just one of the bigger companies here in the Puget Sound where we purchase a lot of our materials and things from, and they also sell a number of different products. So great company.
And is it DUNN? Dun lumber?
DUNN, yes.
Right. Because what we heard was dumb, DUMB. That's why we were so confused. And I remember telling John later, I said, "John, you gotta stop and not use these technical terms, right? It's not that John was doing anything wrong. It was this small tweak of don't use a technical term without explaining it to the client. Because when he explained it, they went, oh my gosh, thank you for explaining that. I was still trying to figure out what dumb lumber was, right? So these are the kind of little small tweaks that we can put into place that actually increase sales numbers. So let me ask you this. From a training perspective, I've been working with you guys for a while. Would you recommend the training? Is it good training?
It's absolutely been fantastic. And I think for us as salespeople, you have to be coachable and be there to understand new concepts, and being coachable is huge. But looking at your holistic approach and organizational, that's what's impressed me, because you're looking at it from all angles. How can we help drive sales?
Right. So let me ask you, I love this one because people always say, well, have you ever sold windows and doors before? And let me ask you something. When I got there, Dave, did I know anything about windows and doors?
No.
Do you think I still know anything about windows and doors?
A little bit more
But
by
not much.
osmosis.
Did I try to teach you how to sell windows and doors, or did I try to improve your sales processes? That's the key.
100% the key.
Right.
Giving us more tools.
I've taught software salesmen, I've taught insurance salesmen, window and door salesmen. Sales is sales. I am not trying to teach you how to sell a product. I'm trying to teach you how to be better at what you do, which is sales. So that's really all I got for you today, Dave. You got anything else you want to end with today?
But all I can do is thank you. And I know you made a huge impact on our organization. So just we really appreciate all the guidance and everything you've done for us.
All right, man. I'm going to actually be out there on the 14th and 15th again. So I will see you in a couple of weeks. Keep killing it. And let's do another
Fantastic.
$300,000 a month.
All right. Thank you
Thanks,
very
Dave.
much. Appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you would like to get more information on either one of my books or my one-on-one coaching programs, you can find me at brianwillmedia.com or the dropoutmm.com.